I'm going to invite Gwen and Murray Stevenson to come, and they've been here before with us, probably about a year ago, and they are, God has called them to serve with humility this ministry called Nightlight, and some of you have participated in it or heard about it. We've tried to highlight it as we go through the year, and they've just come to bring us an update, and then I'll let you know a little bit, maybe as a precursor to that. As we go through the month of November, anything that you contribute to our benevolence fund we are going to be redirecting that to Nightlight and their ministry, and you're going to hear about why this is important that we do. I think that should work for you.
Thanks so much, Pastor Dave, and appreciate so much this church. Pastor Dave has been supportive right from the beginning of the vision for this. And this church family, we thank you for the financial support and this commitment and volunteers from here. And that has meant so much. So just as a reminder, Nightlight is a ministry that's downtown and a drop-in center for adults to the marginalized, those that maybe poverty or homeless, some that come in just relationally marginalized. They need friendship. They need a safe place for meaningful relationships and bringing the love of Jesus to them. There's actually 10 different churches that have volunteers that are involved in this. And an update since last year, we opened the end of February. So it's Monday and Tuesday night from 6 to 9. And we're always welcome. You want to come and see a little bit what the ministry is like. We still can use volunteers if you're looking for an area to be involved in connecting with people that way. So in that time, we've grown. At first, we had more volunteers than guests the first couple of nights, and that's grown to between 10 and 15 people a night. Later in the spring, and now about between 15 and 20 guests that come, and then the volunteers. So the tables are full pretty well in that space that we have. So we just serving coffee and snacks and have games and build friendships together with them. We've seen our guests be open and share some of their stories, some of their pain, and be open to have prayer and hear of Jesus' love for them. There's a few that have visited and come to church and seen God's Spirit working in their hearts and changing lives. Also seeing a real change in volunteers that have grown. There was a few volunteers at first that were it's a bit of a cross-cultural experience and wanted to just stay behind the counter and serve the coffee. They're just totally involved in helping and building relationships with people. And we'll give you a couple of examples of what God's doing, and Gwen's going to share one of those.
Good morning. First of all, I'd like to say how grateful we are for your support already. We have financially been blessed by this church. We have volunteers from this church. We've had people support us for our Ride for Refuge fundraisers, so thank you. It's so appreciated, and without that, we wouldn't exist. But I do want to tell you one of our God stories from Nightlight. So we always pray before we open, and we pray for the people that God's going to send through our door. So one night, a young man, probably early 20s, mid-20s, came up to our coffee counter. I offered him a cup of coffee, asked him how he was doing. He said, not good. And so Murray spent some time with him, spent quite a bit of the evening with him, listening to his story and just being there for him. And come to find out that he was planning to end his life. And he just happened, but we all know that with Jesus, there's no just happened, to run into on the street before Nightlight opened one of our regular guests. He's been there every night since we've opened, and he was on his way, and he came across this young man, and he said, well, why don't you come to Nightlight tonight? And so he did, and he had a good evening. There was another young man that Murray introduced him to, And it turns out that they had some connection in high school. And so as he stayed most of that night, and then as he was leaving, this other young man said to him, "Well, come with me." He's at the River City shelter, and he said, "Come with me. I'll see if I can find you a spot to sleep there tonight," because he was homeless. And before he left, this young man said to us, "You saved my life tonight." So that's why we're there. That's why God has put us there. And there's also another, and like I said, we pray for every guest that comes through that door. And there's been another guest that has come that, truth be known, it'd be easier if he wasn't there, but God has sent him to us, and our job is to love him. And this morning I went down to Nightlight to grab some flyers that I've put on the back table that you're welcome to take. And I was driving home, I saw him on the street. And the cool thing is that now, because I know him, I can pray for him. And so I prayed for him as I drove past. And he is a man that has many struggles. And I can pray that God's victory will be seen in his life, and that Satan's bondage will just be released, and that we can bring God to him, we can bring Jesus to him. So we would ask that you pray for our guests and ask for prayers for our volunteers as well, that we have wisdom and that we show Christ's love to every guest that walks through that door.
Yes, thank you. Another guest that has come and got to know him very well, and he was very sick. This was about 5 weeks ago now, and on the Tuesday night we found him just right in the alcove in the doorway, and we tried to urge him to get some help on the Monday night, and he wasn't ready for that, and then he couldn't even stand. But by the end of the evening, he was finally willing to get help, and the ambulance taking him to the hospital, and they dealt with a terrible infection that I don't know that he would have lasted very long from that point. And now God's begun to work in his heart. His whole attitude has changed. He's been reconnected with his daughter, who's a follower of Jesus and is supportive, and a social worker and working on housing, and just he's open to prayer all the time. And now he's talking about his own prayers, that God is hearing him. And he said the other day when we were visiting him up there at the hospital, and yeah, what's that, that twice thing, that's that twice thing. And he says, born again. And how God's Spirit is working in his own prayers to Jesus and the changes that are happening there. So we're grateful. There's many more things that we could share, but thank you for the time, and thank you so much for your welcoming spirit to us here and all that you've been doing.
Thanks, Gwen. Thanks, Murray. Appreciate your willingness to see this through from the thought of it to how the Lord's leading it right now. And I just actually was speaking to somebody on Friday who has had the opportunity to serve, to connect with people, and just how his expression was how much it's changed him as he connects with these people, with people who are frequenting at the Nightlight, by sitting down and listening to some of their stories. It's really helped him in his own perspective and relationship with God. And so thanks for the good work you're doing, not only to those you seek to minister to, but those you minister with, because God is changing their lives as well. And so it's a privilege for us, as you go through the month of November, to prayerfully consider how you might lend support in a couple of different ways, and they've outlined some of them, and you can pick up that information there. But for us, financially as well, this month, any gift that's given through our benevolence, you can mark that either benevolence, or you can mark it Nightlight, and we'll ensure that it gets to them at the end of this month. And so thank you for that.